Hello, and welcome back to SpaceChem. Mission 4B, we're doing the challenge. Going green, let's see what this is about. Right away we can see lots of reactors, lots of elapsed cycles. It's probably going to be long, hopefully less than 2 hours. No story, right into it. Okay, we have a building. A thermoelectric plant. Emits carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. This hydrocarbon burning plant has been spewing pollution into the atmosphere for centuries. Alright, so carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. This is our first sulfur that we've seen, but I mean, one atom is more or less like any others in this game, although it does have 6 bonds on it, and that's quite the molecule, and then I guess just carbon. Oh, I see. So the trick with this one is that we don't actually get a recycler. Sulfuric acid is strong mineral acid, soluble in water, used in a wide variety of applications including large-scale battery arrays. And a versatile element that forms the foundation of all organic compounds, that being carbon. Right. Eclipse on the molecule shown requires 40, but it can go above 40. I'm pretty sure I've seen that before. Like, if they're not going in evenly, you can go above. So the minimum was apparently 2 sensors? 2 sensor reactors? So what's our ratio here? CO2 is double the hydrogen sulfide. And is that a good ratio? That's probably going to be a perfect ratio, isn't it? Because that means for every sulfur, we get 2 hydrogen, which we want, and we get 4 oxygen, which is what we want, and then 2 carbon. So we're going to have twice as many carbon as we are going to have sulfuric acid. Alright. Well, obviously, that's the first thing that we do. Not really any question there. And before I just start entering this and mucking around with things, I should probably have a plan for what I want to do with this. The fact that I have access to 5 reactors is a little bit daunting. Like, why would I need that many for this? First, what we're going to do, well, because the shape is different, we don't even need a sensor to figure out which molecule is being entered, necessarily, so we can save our sensor for some other function. So what we want to do let's see. Probably what we want to do is get both oxygens just stuck on the sulfur and then send it off into another reactor. So if we did that, we did something like that, where we have... Oh, I see how this gets messy. And because of the sulfur, there's not really a way to cleanly have half and then send the 2 things in. No, okay, so I think rather than trying to make complicated molecules and pass them along, I think the better option here is going to be to separate this out into individual molecules, or individual atoms as much as possible. So if we have... And then we can be clever about it and have, you know, oxygen coming out on one square, hydrogen coming out on another square, and then that way we can save sensors as well. Stuff like that. But if we take the first step, and the first step is just stripping out the carbon, because we don't want that. And then sending everything else as a set of individual atoms into another reactor. A good idea. It'll theoretically give us what we need, but then we have to assemble the whole thing. And we're going to be limited to 4 bonders per reactor, which is really difficult when we start having to shift things around. So that's not ideal. And because we get a random ratio, a random order, we can't rely on getting things set up nicely. None of the oxygen are connected to each other, so we really do want the oxygen as separate atoms for sure. This... I mean, if we could do hydroxide atoms, that wouldn't be bad, but that's going to be... a little bit tricky. Okay, so I think what we're actually going to do then... so if we put carbon and sulfur together down one path, oxygen, hydrogen the other, we can create our hydroxide that way. But then we have the extra oxygen. That's still such a mess. What if we put sulfur and oxygen together? Sulfur and oxygen goes here. Hydrogen and carbon goes here. And then we just pipe the hydrogen back up into this. Like, I think no matter what, we want to be separating stuff out, because this is awful the way that these are set up together. So yeah, I'm thinking that's probably the most promising option so far. So sulfur and oxygen goes together. We just build this cross structure with the double bonds. And I don't think it matters. Like, we can have double bond here, we can do double bond up and right, and then single down and left with the hydrogens coming off of those. Like, I don't think it matters, the orientation, as long as the bonds going to each atom are correct. Which would not work in actual chemistry, I don't think, but you know, this game isn't actual chemistry. It's a programming game. So we're going to be doing cross and then put the H in afterwards. I mean, I guess. And that means I'm gonna want probably just to pipe it on. Like, I could attach this up here and have this come back around so that I'm getting hydrogen in a different input. And in fact, that would be, I guess, the reason to use all 5. But I think I'm going to use 4 with this solution. And then we're going to do that. Something like that. Okay, so intermediate properties. Let's see. Note to lower output. This is carbon and hydrogen, I've decided. And I know I said I could put them in separate, but in this case, like separate squares. But I'm just going to put them on the same square and use the sensor, because I have the sensor, and for this it'll be super simple. We're being efficient. I'm just worried that pipe looked a little bit short. I'm not sure how much this is going to backlog. In terms of ratio, I mean, we should have twice as much carbon coming out, so actually this is probably completely unnecessary what I just did, but I can change it if I want to later. It's fine. This, on the other hand, being super short. Well, it's going to be one of these for 2 of these. So that's probably okay, honestly. And then up here, upper note, we're doing just oxygen and sulfur. And I don't think it matters. Can I move this one? I can't. Okay. Interesting. Just gonna move that down there and this up here, but that's fine. So oxygen and sulfur, and do I want them on the same square? Might as well. Honestly, I have the sensors, I might as well use them. I could be fancy and not use them, but I think that... I think that's a bad idea. Okay, I can't move this box either. Sulfur, so we're just gonna put this mess here. And then here, upper is just gonna be only hydrogen. Alright, so we're just using this as an extra splitter. Okay, so this is going to be the complicated thing. Everything else is going to be super simple. Well, let's start with the simple ones then. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go that way. So got all my inputs and outputs registered. Also, I didn't have... Yeah, there's only one pipe coming out. I can't split it. Okay. So let's just get started. I only have one sensor, so I do have to actually be tricky here. Because of this one, also because of the way I'm doing the outputs, I want everything on the that exact tile. This is going to be actually a little bit trickier than I first gave it credit for. Okay, so let's see. We'll do an input of something. So with this setup, we're either grabbing a carbon or a hydrogen. Is that how we want to do this? Let's not worry about it. We can change stuff for now. Let's only worry about carbon dioxide first. So we're gonna go like this. And then we'll shift the arrows around as we need to. Okay, so we are currently holding on to the carbon, which means that when we are here, we want to sink for a little bit. And this is where blue does 2 bond minuses, an output, and a sink. An output and a sink. Output should be the right output, because otherwise this doesn't work. And from here, I think because I'm currently holding this, it's not actually going to separate. Okay, so then from here, we're going to have another sink. And here we're going to do 2 more minuses. Because I'm trying not to use more than just these dividers. These debonders, I guess. So I now have a loose oxygen here, which isn't good. So how we're going to fix that? Well, first of all, we need another sink here. That's going to release the red. So red is now going to go... do something like this. And that makes sense because what I'm doing now is I'm doing a grab drop here. Oh, I don't get to do another drop here because I'm already sinking on that square. So this doesn't actually work. Because I was thinking we come down, drop, come up here, we would grab this and drop it here, but I'm already sinking on both of those. So that's a problem. And the reason I need to sink is because it's a double. A double bond. Okay, let's reset and try a different strategy. Let's not have this over in the middle of everything else. It's fine. So we're going to input. Let's grab the oxygen. We don't want to put a sink. Well, if we don't want to put a sink over this, the easier thing to do actually is just to do this on the default area. Unfortunately, this is going to use all three. But if I do something like this, something like this, input, debond, debond, these are now all individual atoms. Which means that I can redirect here. If I'm currently holding an oxygen, if I'm currently holding an oxygen, we're actually going to want to go up. Otherwise, probably... This is getting complicated again. Okay, so we're probably grabbing an oxygen here. If we have oxygen, we just go up and dump it. Then I think if it's not oxygen, we probably actually just want to use the blue Waldo for everything, because otherwise it's going to get complicated trying to use the same Waldo for everything here. I probably don't want to do that just on there. We drop, output it. Right, because I was thinking we then come through. Let's delete this for now, because that's getting into a complicated other problem. So if we have oxygen, we're going along this path, which means that we want to this is going to be super slow if I do these as independent this, but we're going to grab that, which is our carbon. Whoops, that was the wrong button. Here we go. Drop. Output. Grab. Drop output. And back. Okay, and then I can do a sync if I want to fix it in some way. So basically what's going on here is if we get CO2, we have put both oxygens here, and outputted them, and the carbon here. Let's just see if that is our first molecule. Wait. Let's just see if that is our first molecule. No, of course not. I wanted to test this to see if it was going to work. What we're probably going to get it is our second molecule. Let's just do that for now. Grab, okay. It's not going to work because this is in the way, but this should give a general sense of what's going on here. Drop, come out, the oxygen goes where it's supposed to go. Carbon goes where it's supposed to go. And oxygen will go out where it's supposed to go. Okay, and then it'll start over. Well, that's probably fine, actually. Just have it going in like that. So, the question then, I guess what we're doing is we're gonna think, and that's gonna release blue. And blue goes if we do not have carbon dioxide. So now I just need to make a circuit similar to this for hydrogen sulfide. That'll be good. Alright, so again, running this. Don't have what I'm looking for. That releases blue. Okay. So if we grab here and debond, in this position, we have hydrogen, sulfur, hydrogen. And then we just kind of do the same. That's a little bit awkward, but I think it's fine. Drop. That's because that's where hydrogen goes. I'll deal with the cleanup afterwards. Grab. Drop. Okay, we don't want to start here, is what I'm getting out of this. Because grab, drop, and then we need you to come around again. And grab, yeah, because this isn't a corner shape, this is actually pretty awkward. Is there a way to grab it on sulfur to begin with? Maybe that'll be easier. So if we grab here, debond. Let's just delete all this stuff. We're going to want to drop there eventually. So in this case, this might work. So we're currently holding sulfur, which goes up here. So we're going to drop here. That's fine. Output. We're gonna grab this one. Goes here. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Grab this one. Go like that. And of course we need a second sink, and we need an output. And because of the way I've set this up, So we're actually going to do 2 outputs like that. Okay, this should work, right? So you wait until this is done. Make sure that this worked. I have the correct outputs on each one. Sulfur was outputted where it was supposed to go. Hydrogen was outputted where it was supposed to go. And hydrogen was outputted again. And then this starts again, and we wait. We do a second loop. Hey, look, we got the other thing. And we're just going to double check that this still works, and then once this is done, our first machine is complete. Carbon. Carbon goes around. So this was the simple one. It was already a bit of an involved process. Oxygen's out. Again, okay, we're getting that sequence, which is just going to do this again. If we exit the reactor, we can see that we have stuff in the pipes. Alright. No, stop, that's the wrong one. We want stop, not exit. Okay. Well, let's just get this going, I guess. So the problem here is that we might end up with more than one we might end up with a really bad ratio, which means that we're going to have a bunch of extra sulfur or oxygen that we're not able to use at any given time. So I think what we want to do what do I want to do? Because if I assume that I'm getting... I was told this was in units of 12. There's a 2-to-1 ratio, or 8-to-4. That means I can theoretically get 4 sulfur in a row. Or 16 oxygen in a row. Right, so I think that's where the 5th reactor comes in then, because the way to fix that problem is instead of trying to make something really scary like this out of these inputs, I think that's going to be absolutely awful, so I'm not going to do that. So instead what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have... Basically these two are going to be exactly the same machine. And then I'm going to have to fit another... factory in here. This will be my 5th one. That's fine. And we're just going to... we're going to get rid of all these. So we're going to have it as sulfur on that output. Add note to upper is going to be oxygen. Okay. And this, add note to lower. This is going to be our combined thing. And using the reactor like this, just for this purpose, is going to make it so that we can control the ratio of our relative inputs, provided that neither of these pipes ever fill up and cause the entire system to jam. Which again, we can get 8 of these for 1 of these, which means that for oxygen, potentially doing some rough math here without really thinking about what I'm doing, I might need to have 16 of these lying in wait. So I'll put 20 in there. And likewise, worst case scenario for the other one, if I have no oxygen at all, I could potentially get 4 of these in a row, and I have 4. Whoops, but let's just double that up a little bit. Alright, I'm just making sure that we have enough space so that we're not going to have the factory jam up because we get too much of one input over the other. I think I gave myself enough leeway. Alright. I mean, this is going to be dirt simple. Blue's already here. Let's just use blue. We're going to input, grab, go up, go here. If oxygen, otherwise go down, drop, drop. Output, output. Okay. And this should work. Sulfur goes down, and output. Good. Of course, it's going to be super slow because of the way the first factory is set up. That first machine is going to be the massive bottleneck here for making everything miserable. Oxygen goes up and out and in the right spot. Yeah. Alright. And yeah, so all this extra time in the pipes doesn't actually matter because this is still the bottleneck. That first machine is super slow. Alright. Save to toolbox. What do I call this? Splitter. And here... Oh, I can't. Oh, can I not just copy the reactor that way? I think I have to actually delete this and then... Just a hydrogen output anyway, that's fine. Delete. Splitter goes here. Nope. Go down to carbon. This... I don't think it matters too terribly much. And that's not going to be oxygen, that's going to be... that's going to be hydrogen in this case. Which means... change sugar element to hydrogen. That should be good. Okay. Then we go into this one. We now have our controlled inputs. We can grab exactly as many of these as we want of each, which is going to make this a pretty interesting, pretty nice and simple little factory, I think. So we're going to grab our sulfur. And from here, We are going to hold on. Let's do this later. We can't actually put everything in position all at once. That is a problem, which is where it would have been nicer to separate things out a little bit more, I guess. I was originally thinking I was going to do some rotations. I guess I still could. And this is where I'm going to have the double-double, single-single, and we'll see if the output will accept that. I think that'll be a lot simpler. So input, alpha, grab, drop, input alpha, grab, drop. Some manner of sinkage, probably multiple sinkage, but there's going to be something like that. So at this point we have 2 oxygen in position and a sink. That's going to be blue's signal to start. Then we're going to grab our sulfur. And with our sulfur, once we hit this, let's just do that. Double bond, doesn't matter, there's a single bond here, it doesn't do anything. Double bond this. So I just lost track of my place. What am I doing with the sinks? So we've done 2 lines. So we currently have oxygen, oxygen, sink, which releases U. So let's actually do another sink here. This is when we release blue to start. And then we're going to wait here until blue gets to here with the sulfur. So blue moves here, red moves here, bond, bond. We then do another sink. And blue should be good. Now we rotate twice. Now we can do this forever. We should now have double bonded. We then... Why am I going in that row? Well, let's just make sure that we're not hitting anything, potentially. So here we have another sink. What does that imply? Because on the second pass, again, we've got our 2 oxygen in position. We've got the sulfur here. Alright, so we're probably going to want to sink so that we're not getting any collisions. This sink and this sink match up, then drop. We're waiting here. If I hit sink, no. I think I delete this, and put a bond here. Does that work? Okay, no, I just messed everything up with what I just did. Okay, because the idea here was I was going to have it sync. The problem is I wanted to do a double bond one on the first pass and only a single bond on the second pass. Now I could do that by just having this loop around and do all the blue stuff on the red line. While blue comes into position. I would rather not do that, though. Okay, so what ended up happening? I assume this worked as intended. Now... Well, we're waiting on input. This is jammed. Why? Oh. Well, okay, let's... Shoot. Just gonna move that pipe down one, but I can't because of this. That's a super easy thing to fix. Okay, well... Of course, now I can't have any leeway here, which is a little bit of a problem. Did I need any? Probably not. Worst case scenario, nothing happens. Okay, so yeah, this thing went all the way through. Interestingly, that is the shape that I wanted, so how did that work out? Did I get this right? And I just confused myself? Unfortunately, my options are way too fast to see what's going on and the system just crashes, or wait forever. Okay. So what's going on here? We bond... because this isn't doing anything yet. Okay. Good. Right, because we don't have another sync, so these commands don't actually get played again. Oh, well, okay, well that just works out then. Okay. So in that case... I guess we'll go over the rotate again, that's fine. Output. And this needs another sync to get going, so we're going to have to put a sync here just to release it. As we rotate it again, let's just see what my orientation ends up being at the end of all this. We end up with, which one's the double? Doubles are here, right? And these are singles? Yes. Double, double, single, single. Okay. Double, double, single, single. Cool. I guess there's a limited number of bonds, that's why it's not letting me do that. Okay. Double, double, single, single. Final piece then. Got this. And we're gonna want Oxygen is limited to 2 bonds, so I wonder... I don't care enough to do the research. I was wondering what happens like if I put bonds here and here, and then put... Oh, whoops, right, that's the thing that can happen. And then try to bond all 3 all at once. What would end up happening? I suspect it would just be top-down, so this one would bond and this one wouldn't. But I'm going to make this simpler. Just do something like this. Oh, I guess this has to be over one more. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it's going to be. And then from here, input, grab, drop. This last one's super easy, at least. Make this into a double grab, input, grab, even being efficient on my tooltips here. Tooltips, my commands. Now we're gonna drop here. At which point, once those are both in position, then do a double sync. We hit the first sync. We do an input, a bond, grab. It doesn't matter, but we'll just drop it off here because that's kind of in the same general position. It's going to be a different shape, but that's fine. Drop. Output. And we can just put the other sync here, and that should be fine. Because at that point, we can start the next bit going. All right, so which reactor do I want to look at to make sure that the process is working as it goes? I guess we'll just assume that this works. We'll start from here. Definitely the most complicated of the reactors. And then, so which ones do we want to follow? Hydrogen goes here. Now we're waiting. Yeah, we have a lot of waiting. We have sulfur. Doesn't matter because we're waiting. Okay. Yeah, there's not really a good way to look at the whole process all in one go. Accepted. I mean, we can look at this. Okay, all those tooltips disappear when we're in this mode. Okay, so these long pipes were completely unnecessary, as it turns out. Alright, well this seems to be working. I don't have anything backlogging, and at this point, I've gotten 6 of these. That means I've gotten through an entire cycle. So this will work, it's just going to be really, really long. Yeah, we're getting about twice as many of these. I didn't need to double up the pipe here. Yeah, that's what I figured. Challenge complete for doing the mission. If you say so. I mean, so that really wasn't all that bad. It was just, The process was figuring out what the problem was that I was trying to solve. Once I had broken it up into small enough pieces, each of which were reasonable, then it wasn't too hard to chain them together. Trying to do this with fewer reactors would be a nightmare. Don't doubt that it's possible, but it's the relatively simple way to do it. Alright, and no need for introductions next time. I will see you then.